Gareth, today we're talking about the identity of salespeople and also the interesting fact that very often people do not see themselves as salespeople despite the fact that they're in front of customers because their job title says they're, for example, an engineer. But ultimately, it's true, isn't it, that they are selling even if it's not necessarily in their job title. Tell me what your experience is around that, Gareth.
Yeah, and it's a curious phenomena because we deal with people who are considered to be salespeople, but of course, if you think about most organisations and the way they deal with their clients, you could have multiple contacts throughout the organisation with your clients. It's not just a single point of contact. So traditionally, that salesperson, for example, will be the person who's engaging with that client. Well, if you look at how most modern organisations work, you've got a whole raft of people potentially in front of a customer, and therefore, influencing them on ideas, talking to them about concepts, services, products. And if you're in front of a customer, by definition, you're looking to influence them. So, use the word sales or influence, and I use those two words interchangeably. And often, because people don't associate with the word sales, often they can get in the way of doing the things that the best salespeople or the best influencers do.
And what do you think? What do you think are the unleashers in that? What unlocks that insight for people whose business card says engineer, for example? What is changing?
Yeah. And again, if I'm an engineer, therefore I'm just talking about technical stuff. And I think it goes back to what I was just talking about before. One of the problems with being something like an engineer or an IT specialist or a supply chain expert is there's a feeling that we don't have to engage our customer in a way that's effective, like a good salesperson would do. It can actually be an inhibitor to doing that job well. What do I mean by that is, well, that technical expertise can actually get in the way of being a great influencer, i.e. making it too complicated, talking in jargon, not really understanding what the key problem was from the stakeholder or the customer on the other side of the table. So actually that job title of expertise can get in the way of being a great influencer.
And I suppose, Gareth, it would be true to say that it's equally important for the people whose job title says engineer, but they're customer facing, to understand that sales framework that we've talked about before, so that when they're working tag team or alongside the commercial team, they're able to also engage in that process of listening more and speaking less and so on that we've talked about before. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, equally relevant. And also, if you think about a typical meeting with a customer, it might be the salesperson who often engages more frequently with that customer. They may have someone from marketing, or they may have someone from more technical angle with them. Well, if you don't have a framework and you haven't discussed how you're actually going to engage and how you're actually going to run that meeting with the customer, there's a fair chance that it'll end up being not a very effective meeting, and it's in that 95% club that we spoke about. So whatever your job title, if you're in front of a customer, you're influencing, you're selling them ideas and concepts. And I think, just changing that mindset, and therefore, how can I best do that in front of the customer, is something that, non-salespeople need to know about, and therefore they need to develop those skills as well.
Thank you, Gareth.